Einstein was wrong. Albert Einstein was one of the most damaging figures in the history of science. His abstract geometric models hijacked physics and completely blocked its natural physical development for over 120 years. Welcome back. In our last video, we dismantled the fiction of dark matter. Today, we target the absolute root of modern scientific stagnation, Albert Einstein's theory of black holes and Stephen Hawking's flawed thermodynamics. Because of general relativity, mainstream astrophysics was forced to accept unphysical monstrosities, mathematical points of infinite density, singularities where physical laws break down, and the impossible destruction of information. To patch over Einstein's broken geometry, Stephen Hawking later invented a fictional temperature and phantom virtual particles. Today, using material space theory, we end this century of dogmatic mathematics. We prove that a black hole has absolutely no interior region. In material space theory, we replace Einstein's mystical geometric curvature with real tangible fluid mechanics. Space is a physical material substrate possessing density and internal viscosity. Gravity is the literal accelerated physical inflow of this space substrate toward a central mass, moving exactly at the local escape velocity. As space accelerates toward the critical Schwarzschild radius, its density rises dramatically until it hits a hard absolute physical limit, its maximum finite density. At this exact boundary, the spatial medium undergoes a discontinuous phase transition. It completely ceases to behave like a classical fluid. Because space is rushing inward at the speed of light, it is a physical fact that no interaction can propagate radially outward. If you place a photonic clock on this surface, it stops completely because its radial signals cannot fight the inflow. This is an objective physical mechanism, not a coordinate illusion. At this phase transition boundary, the radial degree of freedom completely ceases to exist. This reality completely shatters Einstein's models of gravitational collapse. By applying the rigorous framework of Tanghelini coordinate transformations, we demonstrate that the critical radius is an invariant physical boundary. Nothing can cross it. The region inside simply does not belong to our physical space manifold. When a massive star dies, its surface never falls through an event horizon to crush into a singularity. Instead, the maximum spatial density is reached at the exact center first, marking the birth of the phase transition surface. This boundary then grows from the inside out, expanding radially. Every layer of the collapsing star that meets this expanding wall instantly loses its structural integrity, because matter is nothing more than stable, bound states of space. It literally dissolves, melting back into pure material space. The star never falls into a black hole. The star's matter dissolves to become the black hole's expanding surface. Therefore, the interior as an open spatial domain does not exist. It is completely filled by the maximum density phase of space. This completely eliminates singularities and resolves the information paradox, because nothing is lost to an infinite point. Furthermore, it completely destroys the foundations of Hawking radiation. Hawking's equations rely on virtual particle pairs fluctuating near the horizon and one member falling into an interior. Since there is no interior region and virtual particles are a mathematical myth, Hawking radiation does not occur. The true Hawking temperature of a black hole is exactly 0. The horizon is stabilized against collapse by the thermodynamics of the spatial medium itself. Because this horizon is a literal two-dimensional phase boundary separating fluid space from the internal max density space, it possesses a real surface entropy density. The total entropy scales strictly with the surface area, preserving the area law, but it is driven entirely by a microscopic count of the spatial states locked at the boundary where matter dissolved. Information is never lost. It is preserved flatly on the surface. Most importantly, this density discontinuity across the boundary creates an effective physical surface tension which acts as a stabilizing skin. When black holes collide, it is this physical surface tension that vibrates, perfectly producing the quasi-normal oscillations we observe as gravitational wave ringdowns. Because the horizon features zero temperature, a positive surface tension, and a finite surface entropy, it is completely thermodynamically stable. There is no thermal evaporation, no runaway instability, and no information loss. It is a clean, permanent mechanical equilibrium. Einstein's abstract geometry forced physics to break down into unphysical infinities and held back human progress for over a century. Material space theory restores sanity to astrophysics by replacing impossible singularities with a stable physical phase transition surface. The precise mathematical proofs, the hydrodynamic equations of the spatial medium. The exact application of Tanghelini transformations are all laid out in my book, Material Space Theory, the collapse of the theories of Einstein, Bohr, and Maxwell, available right now on Amazon. I will now step aside. The screen will transition to show the exact, unedited mathematical text and latex derivations straight from the book, The Vanishing of the Hawking Temperature, the surface tension equilibrium, the final structural thermodynamic summaries, so you can study the proof yourself. Hit that subscribe button, grab your copy of the book from the link in the description below, and examine the unassailable math.